Start now. Hello!
Hello!
Started early for once. I think we started early last week, too. By the way, big shout out, Beresford Productions. Cheers, brother. Just got back from drinks with friends to celebrate payday and thought you should have a cut. Cheers. I will make sure that gets spent on alcohol. I don't know. Does that make you feel better about giving me money? Knowing that you're supporting alcoholism? I don't know. We'll see. Alcoholic behaviors. Cheers, brother. Thank you very much for that super chat. Appreciate it. 5 people in the house already. Wow. That's fantastic. A couple of things that I wanted. Dylan was just kind of filling Dylan in on kind of an idea. See, I used to do these midweek videos, Q&As, and I actually really enjoyed doing them. Problem is I don't have time now because other work kind of taking my attention away, and I'm struggling to get one video out a week, let alone 2. So I figured, why not use the live stream? I've been looking for a way to structure the live stream a little bit better and have a little bit more, the only word is structure to it. And one of the ways I was thinking today, I'm like, well, why don't we just answer some questions? We had a few fun questions come through, a couple dumb ones as well. So I figured we can kind of give those a twist. And you can also get Dylan's feedback on some of this stuff because, I mean, I'm not perfect, and Dylan is a lot more perfecter than me. So
No.
we'll see if we can get a little bit. And this is a great time to both in chat, live chat, or if you're watching this video after the fact. And I know a lot of people do. I'm getting a lot of questions on live streams in the comments, which is kind of cool. But if you have questions, drop them below in this live stream if you're not watching it live, and we'll get to it next week. And another way to kind of fill out a little bit of time rather than just talking shit all day, which Dylan and I can do for
with our
hours.
eyes closed.
But this actually might give it a little bit more, like when we can answer some questions that might actually have a fulfillment for the viewers. And it might bring some new people in the door. You never know. Of course, live stream or the live chat.
I'm gonna think I could use them a noodle.
I know, right? We'll still be hitting the live chat, so don't feel free. Don't be a stranger in the live chat. How's your week, anyways, Dylan?
It's good. It's good. Lots of fun experiments and stuff this week. Gigcaster there. I'm liking it. It's a neat little machine. If it didn't work standalone, it would be stupid.
Does it work standalone?
Yeah. I plugged my guitar into it. I plugged 2 TRS cables into my board here, and I was, queuing up some guitar patches. It's not the easiest to configure on the unit. It's probably easier to configure in an app beforehand, but that's fine anyway, because the way that you'd probably use it is, if you're doing a show, you'd bring it to the show, use it standalone. But then if you're using it at home and you're preparing for a show, plug it in USB-C, just kind of get your tones, and then just DI in when you get to the gig.
Oh, nice. So I also forgot to mention, Dylan, I don't know if you're watching this live stream. Dylan's seen me this week. Yes, I have shaved. Yes, it was a gigantic mistake. I'm growing it back. Don't worry. Everyone's upset. I noticed
you got a little of the fuzzies coming back.
I've finally gotten used to the look in the mirror, though. So body dysmorphia is a wild thing. So when I first shaved, I'm like, why is the length between my chin and my head is so low? Where's my chin? And it's just because I'm so not used to seeing myself like this. And now I feel proportionally different. I don't feel like I'm...
Like a few weeks ago, I had to completely go clean because I was shaving in the shower and I was not obviously paying attention to what I was doing. And I shaved one side of the stash a little too short. And I'm like, okay, I got 2 options. I can either shave the other side and go full Hitler, or I gotta go clean and I gotta start over. And it was like literally 2 seconds before I was leaving for work, and my partner, she's just sitting on the couch, and I'm coming around the corner. I'm like, hey, so don't be alarmed. I did a thing, and she was like, whoa. And even like what you're talking about, even when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, who is this person?
Right.
I don't know. I've never seen this person before. This is weird.
It's amazing how much just a small patch of hair can change you. Steve says, funny, did not notice it's late here in Cologne. Yeah, you know what? I've shocked the hell out of a few people because I've had. I actually shaved about 2 years ago, like completely off, and I'd also gained a ton of weight at the time. Over the past year, I've lost 40 pounds. I know it's not easy to see when you're just looking at like this portion of my body, but I've shed weight like a son of a bitch. And my face is one of the places it's really come off. And there's a photo of me from like 7, 8 years ago where I'm gigantic. I was close to 300 pounds. And that's kind of been my go-to like visual to see how far I've come. And one of the things when I shaved, it was a bit of a mistake why I shaved, but I'm also kind of curious. The last time I shaved, chins 3 through 5 were problematic. And now I'm down to like only one extra. And it's kind of nice. Like there's such a big difference the last time I shaved. And went back and watched some of the videos of me without any facial hair. And I'm like, holy crap. My face is so much rounder. In fact, one of the things I learned when I shaved is my glasses are actually too big for my face now. Where like they're supposed to sit right along the side of your head. And because I had the facial hair and the proportions were different on my face, I didn't notice it. But I'm like, holy crap, the glasses I'm wearing are too big. So technically, these are ill-fitting glasses now, which I'm planning on getting a new pair. Not a big deal, but yeah, that threw me for a loop. Anyways, it's been a while. I will grow it back. Anyone that's really thrown off by it, I apologize. My wife hates it as well. She kind of betrayed me, but that's a different story. SR375, best mic to capture cat noises. Starting with the questions already. Dylan? That's basically full. That'd be Foley collection. So that would be Foley. I'm going to say mine would be a shotgun mic, so probably the MKH416. If you want something with a little bit of bass response to it, the NTG3.
I mean, see, the thing is, so this is where I'm going to go with it, right? I'm going to go in the sound designer's direction with this. So getting cats to make noises in their natural habitat. Their natural habitat probably doesn't sound very good, although cat trees probably absorb acoustics quite well, I would think.
That's true, yeah.
In a very serious way. But, so shotgun mic's good for sound isolation. So I would actually, all the joking about the U87 aside.
Well, also directionality. Directionality
yes,
would help so you can really stand 3 feet back and get a decent pickup on that.
If you're trying to get a sound of a cat purring, you're not going to get that by sticking an SM58 in his face. You're going to need to be a little bit of a ways back. So yeah, shotgun. I totally would. Yeah. MKH 416.
Watch the plosives, kitty. God. Every time I stick a mic in an animal's face, which happens more than you might think, you always get the sniffing sound.
Oh yeah, they're like, what is this?
What is that crap?
Is this edible?
Dan says, nice to meet you, Aiden's chin. Yeah, I know it's weird. It is weird. It's smaller than I remember it being.
You came here and I was like, imposter, get the fuck out of my house. Like,
yeah, I know. So what had happened with my wife's betrayal, for the longest time, because I've had facial hair for most of our relationship, and it's always been like that half goat. She hates mustaches. I don't grow one. I've grown the chin strap beard. I had that back in like 2018. And she's always like, shave it off, shave it off. Ugh, it's gross. It's gross. So this one time I'm thinking when she comes home, she's going to be super excited. I shave it off and I show her and she's like, oh, so when you growing that back? I'm like, what the hell? What the hell?
That's funny.
My wife.
It's like again, the image she set herself up for a letdown. The image that she had in her head was so far away from what. Because again, I think I told you, my thing was my brain estimated that your chin was in a different place than it actually was.
But that's the
your
thing.
Chin was like way lower than it is, and then suddenly.
And that's what you get when you have that. That's the body dysmorphia, because my face went like 2 inches down longer because of the hair. So that was the end of my face. So when you take that 2 inches off, I basically shortened the length of my face, which is so weird to think. And your brain doesn't comprehend that at first. Now, like I said, I'm used to it. I'm used to the dimensions of my face again. Time to grow that hair back, because God damn. That was brutal. All right, so it's quarter after. It's good time. Let's do this. Let's get into some of the questions, Dylan. So I'm going to move this over. Don't mind my wife screaming in the background here. Q&A question number 1. I think you're going to love this one, Dylan. There it is. All right. So this one comes from Anglo-Saxon 1. Hello. I've just bought the Duo, Rodecaster Duo, that is. I'm a professional voiceover, and I'm wondering how you would set this mixer up for voiceover. I do have a setup just for voiceover that I've used for years, which is an Audient interface, decent, with a good external preamp from Warm Audio. That's actually very nice.
That's a really optimal setup, yeah.
But I want to save space on my desk and use the Duo. So we're going to start here, Dylan. The first thing I would say, and this is probably the misconception that a lot of people have about the Rodecaster and a lot of these podcast mixers and stuff like that, is those inline effects that you can use, the compression, the EQ and all that, they're not great. They're good for live. Like, they're good for doing live stuff. Like, I have the DLZ Creator right now. That's what we're doing this show through. And if I go through and I look at my channel, I have the de-esser on, I have the compressor on, and I didn't bother with the gate because I'm using the MKH416. This thing doesn't, or not the EQ, it doesn't need EQ on the MKH416, especially for live. But if I'm going to record a voiceover, I will never have those effects baked in. And I'm guessing that's what Anglo-Saxon's referring to, is a setup for it. Always record dry vocals for VO, and if you have to produce them, if you're the one producing them in post, do it in post. Do not bake any of that crap in. Dylan?
Yeah. Well, because I would say too, I mean, if you are going to bake anything in, because some producers appreciate a VO that's not completely dead, because especially these days, we don't get time. I don't get time to build every voice up from scratch, so it's actually kind of a refreshing thing when there's some mild but, processing that's pretty compatible that comes into something. That said, every industry has that as a different metric, right? Podcasting, the VO style for podcasting is super dry.
Yeah.
So if you're doing like an advertising spot that's going to be injected into a podcast, you better be pretty much just natural as hell. They might put a little bit of comp and a very light EQing after the fact, but let them do that because that totally depends on the podcast. Radio, loud and proud, baby. Blast it in people's face. Get people super annoyed by everything they have to say.
Audio sausage and EQ'd with the high-end boosted.
And so I would say, if you have a doubt, leave it clean.
It's funny.
If you have a doubt, leave it clean. If you are a radio guy and you know what radio is after, go for it. Well, especially if you, because you're probably going to know your voice better than they do. So you're, tinkering around with different EQ settings. Like I have a processing chain for any radio spot, dry, a cold voice or not, that I do, and it runs through a bunch of layers of stuff. Denoising, demouth clicking, EQing, gating, compression, all that stuff. But it's still to the point where it's not completely obliterated. So the person it's not a sausage.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate getting a VO that's just like, and I'm
but
like, what am I going to do with that?
For somebody like this, I would also say like Audient interface with a Warm Audio external pre. You're not going to be replacing that with a Rodecaster Duo easily. That is a fantastic setup for voiceover, and I think you're going to be a little disappointed with anything outside of that.
Honestly, I would say if you're going to keep any part of that, the pre is what you want to keep.
Yeah.
And then just plug that into a line input of the Rodecaster. So yeah, I mean, if that's if you have to get rid of the whole thing, like I don't know, you just record dry with the Rodecaster Duo, but with the I would keep the pre.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. So we got another question in chat here. 1 second. Let me bring this up here. I can never find these. There you are. Okay. Next question in chat is Adele. I know he's responded before because I've had a hard time with the name Adele or Adele or however it is. Hello, Aiden. In your opinion, does preamp and Evo 4 beat Universal Vault 1? I believe you mean Volt 1. Usually, like, the thing with a lot of newer interfaces, and this is, I get this question a lot. I think actually I have one of these questions today. When it comes to interfaces, especially around the same price point, I remember the Evo 4 wasn't as great as I was hoping it was going to be. It was decent. It was okay. It lacked in gain, if I recall. I think it was only 60 dB. But you're not getting a lot of differential in those. Like, there's not going to be anything that blows you out of the water for around the same price point. You're getting about the same thing. You can't tell the difference between preamps. Like, you're not going to be able to sit there and like, well, this preamp's a little warmer than the other one. They're all pretty standard because a lot of these preamps are being built by the same companies. So they're all using the same pre's. They're all using the same. So you're not going to see a lot of differences between them. So go for a preamp that has a couple stats that you need. One is gain. If you need a specific amount of gain to drive a mic like an SM7B, you need north of 61 dB of gain. If you're doing live streaming, maybe look for closer to 67, 68 dB of gain. Otherwise, EIN is the more important number. EIN is basically the amount of noise that is the circuitry of the preamp or the circuitry of the interface it's injecting into your final product. You want a lower EIN as possible. So neg 128 dB is higher than neg 130. So you want to go for something as close to neg 130 as you can get. I'm not exactly sure between those two which one has the lower EIN, but just find those specs that you want. Nothing's going to blow you out of the water sound-wise, though. And it's just, if you want better sound, if you want better pre's, if you want better this, better that, you have to spend more money. And I believe the UA Volt 1 is a decent interface. I have never used it. I used the Volt, was it the 476 or I can't remember which, 276 or something?
I'm actually looking at those now. What did you think of it?
The 276? It was great.
Yeah.
It was great for what it is. I mean, it's, again, I mean, they've got the 76 compressor on there, right? Like that's the sales pitch in these. And like then you have the air switch on the Scarlett series. And it's nice. It gives you a boost, some of those frequencies. It gives you a little bit of that harmonic distortion in the upper frequencies that you get from the 76 compressor. But that's about it. Like a good, decent ear will pick up on it, but most people are just going to right over their head. They're not even going to hear that crap.
The 1176 is an extremely versatile compressor. It's funny though, because I'm looking at it and it's obviously a digital version of the.
Yeah. Well, of course it is. It's a button.
Well, I was also going to say that. So is that adjustable? Because again, one of the things about
No.
the 11. Okay. Well.
It's just the boost in the airy frequencies, and it gives you harmonic distortion in the airy frequencies. The same harmonic distortion you would get from the
I thought it
76.
had actual dynamics processing on the channels, but
No,
apparently not.
it's basically just meant to give you that, you know, the tone, the 76 tone,
Yeah.
quote unquote. That's what it is. Which is meh. So yeah, Adele, one of the best things you can do is just learn what the numbers are on the specs.
Give me the LA2A and we'll talk. Give me the LA2A tone on a bunch of channels and we'll talk. I don't give a shit. The 1176 was a very useful compressor when it was compressing, but I don't know, if you just had the bypass button on, you just ran it through it. I mean, there are mastering engineers that'll say, yeah, no, it'll impart, and it's analog gear, so of course
Yeah.
all analog gear imparts. But
Something.
as far as like, is the actual just natural tone of the 1176 like a hugely sought after thing? Not really.
Well,
It's a very good sounding compressor when it's compressing.
yeah.
And it's versatile.
Well, I believe
and,
the
yeah,
76 button offers just very, very slight compression to your
very
audio.
mild. Okay, all right. So then it's they're probably trying to emulate that, which
I can't
guess.
I can't remember if the air button on the Scarlett does the same, but it's also something that is just like you can do it in post, right? Who's gonna notice that air button pushed on a live stream? Nobody. Nobody's gonna be like, gosh, You hear that harmonic distortion in 8K? Wow, oh my God, that sounds fantastic. Dan says, new Elgato teleprompter this week. Yeah, I saw it, and I'm staring at a teleprompter right now. I've got the Glide Gear. I've thought about it because one of the things, if you've ever seen the Glide Gear, I have to use my cell phone for the teleprompter app. And what I do is you put the cell phone down with the teleprompter app, but you can't stop the scroll. You have to have it set up to scroll at the speed you speak. And if you screw up, you got to reach forward, skim it. So if you ever seen one of my videos where I put my camera hates me because my camera's out of focus for a few seconds, that's because I screwed up a few seconds prior and had to reach my finger in to try to scroll back on the teleprompter app, and my camera doesn't adjust the focus quick enough. So
that's so annoying.
It is super annoying, and it's actually one of those things where I stopped doing reshoots on that stuff because it's so prevalent. Now I've gotten to the point where when I screw up, I stop for a second, I reach in, scroll back, hit pause, let it thing. When it starts, then I know that the focus. But when you have a lot of mics in front of you, every once in a while your camera will grab the mic and just focus on that because it's a stupid piece of gear. 9-inch LCD. Yeah, 9-inch LCD for under $300 is. Yeah, I'm considering. There's also other things you can do. So, like for live stream, I would be able to put the comments for this live stream on screen. So when I'm reading, like you notice, I'm staring off here to look at chat. I'm not making contact. It looks like I'm staring at it because I'm staring at the screen to look at chat. If I had that, I'd be able to see it up here, and it would be a lot better. I'll see. We'll see if that becomes part of my journey. Beresford. At what point in my audio journey do I buy a Cranbourne Audio R8, 500 R8? Cranbourne Audio R8. I know what that is. 500 R8. That's their big one, right? Yeah. Oh man, I would love that. 500 series rack audio interface, Dylan. It's $2,400.
Yeah, I mean 500 series modules aren't cheap, and they're power supplies. I remember at one point I was in the market for just a power supply, no interface, no nothing, just to power 10 a rack mount, 10 500 unit or 500 series units. So for those that don't know, 500 series is really common in project studios, even in big production studios, and they're basically, it's like rack mount stuff, but really tiny.
Yeah.
Like you've got maybe each little unit is like the width of like 6 knobs. And so what you'll find is a lot of like the major pro audio companies will release versions of their compressors and their EQs and their input routing switchers all in like 500 series format, and then you can like modularly put together like a rig. And you can either do like a rack mount, which is what I was in the market for, or you can build these, they call them lunch boxes. Yeah. Where you put like 5 or 7 modules in a little thing. You can bring it to a studio, plug it in, and you got all your gear right there. And so that's kind of neat. And it's not the first one I know to come out, but full set of interface features with that 500 series customizability is kind of cool.
I like how they have module direct outputs, so you can module out. So channel 1 module out.
Well, that's the thing. 500 series. That's like those lunch boxes. Each they're not chained together necessarily. Although sometimes you can wire them that way if you want to. Yeah. But they're just kind of each it's like rack mount gear. Each one has its own dedicated inputs and outputs.
Wow, they have clock, internal, WC ADAT, SPDIF, word clock in outs. Cast in A. What is cast in A, cast in B? What is that?
Cast in?
Yeah, so on the back they have CAST in RRTT. I've never seen that before. I'd be curious. I don't have time to read the website. I'm going to keep that up, though.
I wonder if it is self-powered or if it needs...
just so you know, Beresford, the point in your audio journey is now, so you can lend it to me and I can try it out. How's that? Is that good? Dan, new Reaper this week too. There's so much cool shit this week. See, I was a little disappointed from an audio perspective between Techtober, they call it, which is usually a lot of tech stuff being dropped in October and early November. And last year was pretty good for that. This year, it's been kind of dead for audio gear, which has been a little disappointing.
Say, we got the SM7DB, and that was
yeah.
What else?
Well, we got another wrench in the house. Sneed's here. How's it going, Sneed? Shipping across the Atlantic might be a problem. Beresford, that shouldn't stop you. You just have them deliver it to my house. I swear I'll get it to you soon. Okay? I swear.
Soon.
Swear to God.
Definitely within the next 10 years, most likely.
TechMed, cheers, brother. Thanks for that, man.
Cheers, lad.
By the way, the LA2A plugin is free for everyone until October 31st. Really?
Was that the Waves one or the UA one?
I don't know. Dan, is that Waves or UA?
I mean, there's more than that. I think Arturia even has one now.
Austrian Audio released a microphone for the month. Really?
Austrian.
I know they released the USB mic. I know they did that. I'm kind of sticking to my guns about not. Yeah, the My Creator Studio, Me Creator Studio. I don't know. I'll get it if they can send it to me. I don't think I'm gonna buy one. Just don't have the need. Oh, Universal Audio made all their modeling mics with Hemisphere software. I saw that. I'm actually kind of curious about that. I saw Podcastage talking about that on Twitter. And I avoided the UA series of microphones because I don't have a UA interface. And the amount of money you have to spend on one of those UA microphones makes it a ridiculous purchase if you don't have the UA interface. I've thought about moving over to UA. I much prefer my AudioFuse Studio than any UA product I've ever used. Prove me wrong. I'll be happy to let you prove me wrong, but UA just does not touch the AudioFuse Studio for me. That said, I also now have a Thunderbolt 4 interface, so maybe at Thunderbolt 4 I'll be a little more entertained. I don't know. What do you think, Dylan? Should I go UA?
I mean, no.
No. Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, like there are some things that UA has that are really good. Like, a good example is UA's UAD plugins, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting a UAD, 8 processor accelerator card and running, like a Fairchild 670 emulation, which is an old compressor, very famous compressor.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But yeah, their interfaces have never really appealed to me. I can see people wanting to use them. I can see songwriters on the road who just want something killer that they can record like hit records just in a hotel room somewhere with something, something small and low profile. I know the band Chicago, they used Apollos and Pro Tools live on the road to record some of their more recent records.
Damn.
And they're pretty good. They just did them in hotel rooms. They recorded horns in a hotel room.
Oh man, the people on either side of them. Links back to your talk last week. Love the product, but not the company. Corporate love. Yeah, UA I don't know too well for their company politics. I also don't my experience with them has been super limited, and I spoiled myself really early. 4 years back with that AudioFuse Studio, and it's been hard, man. Nobody has replaced that for me. Not a single person. I think I spent $1,200 on it, Canadian, and I got a deal on it because I'm a YouTuber, and I think it was $1,600 Canadian for the actual price. So I got $400 off. Yeah, it's hard to cover that. Dirty little secret with UA stuff, it works better on Mac than Windows. That's a dirty little secret with a lot of stuff nowadays. Like a lot of stuff nowadays does not work outside of Mac. Well, I actually have been talking to a few, I refuse to spill secrets on this. I've been talking to a few people in the industry with different companies, and I'm actually considering going full Mac for my testing because I know there's a lot of other guys that use Mac for their testing. Bandrew's one of them. Bandrew is on Mac. And the amount of headaches I get on PC trying to get shit to work, where literally it just plugs into a fucking Mac and it works. There's no fiddling. You literally just plug it in. There's there's no mess. Why can't PC be like that? Anyways, I've thought about moving over to strictly Mac. If someone's willing to give me $2,000 for a MacBook Pro, actually more like $2,800 for a MacBook Pro, I will go over full Mac. The problem is my laptop right now is kind of my hub. But yeah, I think going over MacBook Pro for everything, and then I have a nice light laptop that I don't need to run off charger after 1 hour of use. I think I might just do that. The only Windows machine in the house is my wife's work machine, SR3. Yeah, I know. Windows hater here. From the only platforms I use are Mac and Linux. I refuse to go Linux. All roads lead to Rome, I'm sure.
right.
Corporate.
If all I needed to do was surf the web and write up Word documents, Linux is fine. I had it installed on a laptop that I used in high school, and it worked fine for that. But
yeah,
everything that I do now is so custom.
Yeah.
That the Linux environment just doesn't allow me to do what I need to do easily. The amount of wrappers for shit that I would have to install and basically exe like kind of and MSI wrappers for different installers. It would just be a mess. And same thing with Mac. I'm a PC power user. I'm in the PC environment. I'm coding shit and modding the registry. You can do that in Mac, but it's a whole other language.
Yeah.
I've never been a Unix guy. Unix has just not ever been my environment.
I'm just talking about for testing methodology.
Oh yeah, for testing. Again, I've never had an issue installing hardware into a Windows machine. That said, I've never had to install 30 interfaces one after the other.
It's not necessarily installing. It's not necessarily that. It's more the Rode has run into it a few times where, they build it on Mac. They even say that we build it on the Mac platform and they port it over to Windows. So there's quirks when they port it over. Quirks that if you don't know, I've been in talks with them about a few quirks about the Rodecaster Duo, about the StreamRacks. And it's just a matter of you've got to learn why it's happening on Windows, the workaround for it. With Mac, once again, you plug it in and it just works. There's no fucking around. And it's that when you're trying to test, part of my testing methodology shouldn't be how shitty it is to work with it in Windows. My methodology should be, this is what it does, ain't that cool, yo. That is literally should be my whole, that's how I should be able to approach this. Instead of taking 2 hours out of a review time that I put aside for this, literally just trying to finagle the bloody thing onto my computer. And then you look at the other way, with the Gigcaster is a good example, where the way it attaches to your computer requires you to use it as an actual drive in order to update the thing. And you drop stuff into a folder to update it. And it's a 10 meg folder. And it's, God, why don't you just have a button? Anyways, I think having stuff built off Mac these days, and everything is built off Mac. Universal Audio, they have been on Thunderbolt because it's literally meant to plug and play with a frickin' Mac. That's literally what they're meant for. So I don't know. We'll see in the future. If I do get enough money for a MacBook Pro, I think I'm going that way. I do have the money, but I mean spare money. Money that I don't have to put somewhere else. Andrew, what tools like wire strippers become part of your toolkit when you get into level of audio tinkery? I have them sitting right here. I actually did a video. Crap, I put it aside. Oh, no. Video coming out either this week or next week. This is the NT2A capsule. The one that I took out when I did the that K67 swap. That garbage swap, that K67 capsule. This is the sputtered, the one that's got all that spittle on it. And that video is coming out whether or not the sound of your capsule changes over time. It's a fascinating video. I'm not giving any of it away because I got it down to only a 6-minute video. It's fascinating though. I took out all of the soldering and the fucking around with that stuff. But I would say when you get into audio tinkery, it's really easy to want to get into like the wire strippers and the soldering and all that stuff. And you know what? If you've got the money to be able to do it, yeah, it makes things a lot of fun. I'm getting so much better at my soldering. I'm getting really good at replacing.
You gotta do. And honestly, I found a collection of. So I got this huge spool of really high-end like bulk microphone cable. And so I anytime I need any kind of cable of any length for anything, I've got a jar of XLR connectors. So I just go in here and be like, all right, I need a male, need a female. Where's a male? No, they're all females. Fuck. Oh, there's a male. There we go. Or there's
Nice.
female. We got a jar of like 100 TRS connectors, and I just make cords.
Nice.
Because it's easy. You gotta have lots of this stuff, like heat shrink. Gotta have yourself a big box of heat shrink. A solder gun for when you're in a really tight spot. I do have a really good soldering iron with like a digital.
Yeah,
thermal
I've got the
adjustment.
exact same one. I actually
Yeah,
just bought it. Yeah.
It's honestly, having good tools makes certain jobs significantly less frustrating. Something to hold stuff.
Yeah.
That's really important.
That's-
Something to, like some kind of a vise, ideally a couple of vices, but vice grips, little portable things will do. Random bits of spare wire, really
Yeah.
good to have that. Or the amount of times that you will find, like I've got, what do I got in here? I got pieces of like Ethernet wire, like this green that I used to make audio cables out of. And so the thing about these is there's 8 conductors in this.
Nice.
That's super useful, right? You can,
Yeah.
if you need little wires to do little jumps inside of equipment, or like, hey, I'm testing if this capacitor's blown, I need to jump it, right? Like that can be really nifty, and I've actually done that with some of that wire at one point.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, the key is there's like lots of odds and ends. Another good one is a solder sucker. Got to get some kind of
Yeah.
solder sucker, because there's going to be times, especially like if you, this is one piece of advice I will give for audio gear. Do not let your room get warm. Warm is bad for
Yes.
all electronics. And you will probably at some point reduce the life of a cap. I had one of these monitors that I have here, these 8-inch KRKs, and they just started buzzing one day randomly. Not super loud, but just annoyingly. And then I opened it, and there's a big gold capacitor that's blown. So
Yeah.
something like that. Something like that turns a it takes a $250 repair down to a $2 repair.
Yeah. No kidding.
Little shit like that. But no, there's so many things in my various toolboxes. Like, I don't know. I'm the kind of person who's like, okay, if there's a problem, I'm just gonna fix it. People actually kind of make fun of me for that. That like I will be like, oh, I don't know a thing. I'm gonna find out the answer right now.
Yeah.
I'll be at the bus stop and I'll be like, what's the answer to this question? So yeah, I would say any soldering stuff, get good solder, get good flux, either paste or fluid. Yeah, just get some good solder stuff. You will save money on cables. It's also kind of fun. I don't know if you're sick and twisted like me. I don't know, getting your hands dirty. There's something really satisfying about that.
There is
And,
also the finished product. When I replaced the NT2A capsule and it was perfect sounding, there was this like, I did that. So cool. Hey,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next question that came from a video. So we're gonna move over. This one's from Seymour Panther Radio. And this is an interesting one, Dylan, because I found this is a thing that a lot of people have been doing lately, is trying to squeeze a round peg into a square hole when it comes to their audio gear. This is what he says. This was on the Rodecaster Duo video, if I recall. This may not fully pertain to this video, but do you know how, as a producer, I can have a headset to monitor and talk to my commentators on a podcast interview type show when I have 4 guests already? Oh, so this was from the Rodecaster Pro 2 video. Already using all 4 XLRs and 4 headphone jacks. So basically, he's asking, how can I, as a producer, also have a channel, a talkback channel?
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
And that's this is the one thing that has started to happen since the Rodecaster Pro first came out. People are literally trying to wedge this thing into every use case possible. And you get a lot of these questions of like, well, how can I do this with it? You can't. Like, you can't have 5 inputs on a Rodecaster Pro.
That's not what it's for. It's like, oh, I want to plug 3 mics into the Apollo, Uno or the Apollo 1. It's like, well, then you're a shit out of luck, friend.
Get an XLR splitter. No, get an actual interface that fits your needs. And that's the thing, like...
XLR? Are you insane? Get an XLR splitter. Don't do that ever. That's a stupid thing to do.
I know. That was the joke, Dylan. God.
No, but somebody has said that. You know somebody at some point has said that. That's alarming.
I've had people tell me you just need an XLR to USB cable. God.
Okay, well, I mean, at least that's not going to murder all your equipment. Like the kinds of like wattage bounce back you get when you try to plug multiple mics into a single input. You can split an output, but you cannot split an input. Remember that.
I love how I triggered Dylan with that one comment. I love that. Yeah, so finding the right gear for what you want. Obviously, if you're a producer and you want to talk back, you need to be able to have a talkback button on your gear. Or you need a separate, literally a separate thing or a separate device that will allow you to communicate with everybody that's plugged into another channel on the device. Like on the DLZ Creator, you could get another device to plug in through your 910 or something that would give, and then you just route that through to just headphones for the people. There's a million ways to do it, but the point is if it doesn't inherently have it on the device, no, there is no way you can do that. Get an interface or a product that suits your needs. Stop trying to use it as a door opener. Like it's one of those things that like kind of drives me nuts. And they're like, well, how do I get 4 people on a duo? You don't. There's no, it's meant for 2 inputs. That's it. There's no like.
Yeah, generally you got to plan a solution for all of the problems that you think you're going to need it to solve.
Yeah.
Duh.
And
like if you think you're going to be doing a panel style podcast with 4 people talking at the same time, get an interface with 4 inputs.
You'd be surprised at how that, and you know why? It's because people can't afford the whole thing. So they're trying to piecemeal it with other things. Well, you can get 4 input mixers that will do the exact same thing without the compression and the EQ and all that. But you can buy a Mackie Pro FX 12V3 for under $500. That will give you 8 mic inputs. I believe they even have talkback buttons on those. So it's one of those, like, there's a way to do it. It's just not with the product you want. So anyways, SR375. Oh God, never split XLR or Ethernet. So using duct tape to wire them together? No? Okay. I won't do that anymore. All right, next question. I still love how you are triggered so easily. Into Zone. I don't think you can grow your hair back. You're bald. Accept it. Oh, you meant the beard. This one was off my post from the Shave My Beard.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of negativity on that. I actually haven't looked to see. Actually, I should do that to look to see what the final total
percentage
was. I'm going to look at that here. This was, if you didn't see it, guys, I posted a poll. 232 responses. Brutal. Oh my God, gross, grow it back won 82% of those votes.
Nice.
And 18% said yes, they prefer it without facial hair. There's 18% of people that actually like me without facial hair. That's wild. Now, I will say, when I had the really long goatee, I can see that. That was a mess. That was a mess of a goatee. However, the short one was actually quite nice. Anyways, into Zone. By the way, I can actually grow a full head of hair. It's hard to see like this, but when I grow it in, you can see a really awkward hairline. It's there. Like I have a widow's peak. I have a strong widow's peak, but I do actually have a full head of hair. I just look like a moron with hair, like a complete idiot. It's poker straight. It's garbage hair. So I shave my head consistently. in case you're wondering. Any other questions about my physics? I don't think there are. All right, so we're getting near the end here. So once again, guys, hit up the live chat. This is interesting. Fan funding. Oh, you can actually separate fan funding too. That's cool. If you have any more questions, but we do have one last one here that I pulled from the messages. Last week's video and a few others. This one comes from Filminator. This is a guy that actually... I kind of became friends with him early on in my YouTube career. I kind of messaged him. He had questions about microphones, and we chatted quite a bit. And then we both fell off each other's radar. And then he popped up 6 days ago with a really, really good question. Now, I'm going to direct you down to the last sentence here. It's watching your videos and testing out so much gear. What is your number one favorite mic and audio interface for just podcasting, talking on YouTube? So, Dylan, if you were to just podcast or talk on YouTube, what would be your number one microphone to use?
Number one microphone?
And interface, sure. But like, let's say, you're doing something separate from your desk. Okay, you're setting up a little round table in your living room and you're doing a podcast. What would be your go-to interface and your go-to microphone for that endeavor?
Well, if I need a bunch of people, a bunch of 58s, that would be the mic standard. I mean, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
At work for like little one-off kind of, hey, we got to set up a quick table and a bunch of people are going to sit around and talk about shit. One of those kind of things, which come up all the time. I would say for like just kind of a one-off, like you're just talking. I mean, you know what? The Shure MV7.
Interesting. For XLR?
No.
So it's just you. It's not a group of people. If it's just you, you're going to Shure
MV7. It's just you, and you're just doing like, I don't know, Bill Burr, I'm talking to myself kind of podcast. And yeah.
No, I would 100% go pod mic over the Shure MV7.
See, I haven't used any of that shit, so I don't know what any of that stuff sounds like.
The PodMic USB, PodMic USB sounds so much better. Actually, it's relatively close on the USB side. The XLR and the PodMic sounds a lot better than the XLR. And the
I
MV7.
like. Now, does PodMic have auto gain?
Yeah.
It does. Okay.
I mean, it's relative. It's not really, but like the PodMic has the full Rode suite of condenser, compression, EQ, all that stuff. Doesn't really have auto gain, but you can put a limiter on it.
I don't like USB mics, but if you leave this question up to me, my inclination is to go for solutions that cost $10,000. So
yeah,
I'm really trying to meter myself for what the average person would be up for spending on shit like that.
But you got to remember, you're talking about just a YouTube. Talking on YouTube, so like a head, just a talking head video, or a podcast.
I think it should go without saying that there's tons of acceptable solutions to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I personally was just, no. See, I have a ton of random interfaces and mics, so I wouldn't buy anything to do that. I have everything to do that already. But
yeah,
I don't know, if I was recommending that a friend who's like, hey, I want to get into, I'd be like, all right, get an MV7. It sounds decent. It's really easy to use.
Yeah.
The software is brain dead simple.
Just don't use it with XLR. Oh God.
No. Well, yeah, no. That only use it as USB mic. There's nothing redeemable about that thing as a XLR output, which is hilarious. But yeah, no. If I was going XLR, I would get the SM7DB. It's got a hefty price tag, but.
Dan says, wait, can you add the Rode USB mic as TalkBack 5th channel for the Rodecaster? Interesting. I don't think so. But I have to look into that. Actually, I never thought about using the USB. I don't know if you can just put that over a TalkBack channel. But you might be able to use the Rode USB as one of the hosts. The problem with that is you've got to put your headphones on through the microphone rather than through the board. However, if you could have one of the hosts on the USB mic and then you use one of the XLR mics as a talkback, that actually might work. Interesting. favorite mic and interface for talking on YouTube or just podcasting. I'm honestly for YouTube, the MKH416, hands down the best microphone for YouTube for me.
Or I would say just a good all-around mic in general.
It's it does so much. You can do voiceover with this bloody mic, but it keeps it off camera. And I'm a big fan of the sound of this off camera versus the sound of lav mic. Like, I don't mind lav mics, but God, this sounds so much better.
Yep.
And you can use this for podcasting too. Like, I could sit down and record a podcast sitting right here. Now, that said, it is a $1,000 microphone. That's kind of unfair. So if you're just sitting down for a mic, I'd probably go pod mic. Use XLR or the USB if you really want. And into an interface, the cheapest, like, just go get yourself the new Scarlett 4th Gen. I don't. There's a lot of Scarlett hate out there. I don't think they're that bad. I mean, it depends on if you're just doing a podcast or YouTube, yeah, whatever. Scarlett's fine. I wouldn't do music with it, but
I mean, again, if you're to say what my favorite mic is for like voice and any situation, it's gonna be, you know, a U87AI going into a Neve 1081 strip, going into a Antelope Audio Orion 32 HD. You know, I recorded at 192 kilohertz at 32-bit fixed. Like, it's going to be something ridiculous. So obviously, that would be my favorite. But you know, of the things that I have, you know, my U87 going into an Audient ASP880 preamp sounds really good.
One second, actually. What's your favorite mic in the box there?
In the box.
Yeah, in the voiceover box, the Vox ISO box.
The ISO mic. Every other mic sounds like shit in that box.
Oh well,
I mean, you can EQ it. You know, I've EQ'd and managed but it's just boxy. Whenever you have really, I don't know, the standing waves that end up being created in there, it's just boxy. And the ISO mic is specifically tuned to manage that boxiness.
But you can EQ everything out. That's just being lazy.
No, so here's the thing. From a purist perspective,
your
goal should be to have to EQ as little as possible.
Yes.
Because the more you fuck with the sound with filters and all kinds of stuff, obviously I'm an audio engineer, so I'm really good at that. In fact, half of my job is really skillfully getting rid of problems with super advanced EQ techniques. But I don't do it if I don't have to. Like, I use the FabFilter Pro Q, which basically has like unlimited EQ bands. If I can avoid it, I try to max out at like 4.
Yeah.
I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to go crazy notching out tiny little frequencies, because then I lose kind of the naturalness of whatever the source is, assuming that the source sounds half decent and wasn't bumping into the mic and stuff.
So would you say you wouldn't purchase the ISOVox without the ISO mic? It's okay.
No, because I think it's a good learning strategy for any producer who hasn't dealt with boxy sources. I've recorded mic closets before. So I know where those weird little bumps happen in, and I can manage them just off kind of the top of my head, really. But I can, you know, for someone who's always recorded in a proper booth, or who's recorded in a bedroom and never tried recording in a small space or a closet, or and suddenly they get that muffly woofiness and they're like, what is that? I think it's the ISOVox can be a useful tool, but also a nice side bonus is it's a good learning tool.
Yeah, no kidding. I struggle with the EQing of that. That's why I handed some of it off to you. I didn't have time to actually learn the EQ process for that. It was a pain in the ass.
The U87AI, which is the mic that I had in there for a good amount of time, it sounded good. It needed some low end lassoing, some low end management, but it sounded good. You couldn't hear the rest of the room as much as I was anticipating, especially with that tiny thin layer that's on the back of the ISOVox. But no, it sounded good.
Nice. So we'll end today's stream with Liberty Dude. How to say I'm really a Muppet without saying it. Beard shave. Thanks, Liberty Dude. Decent, man. Decent. Decent. Sneed, most people's first mics are and should be USB, ideally USB and XLR. They can get an interface later. I actually agree with that now. I've come to...
Yeah, that's honestly, I at my stage of my career, I fight against USB mics a lot. I never, ever would have a need for a USB mic. That said, there is a place for them in the economy, and especially people starting out that just need a way to be able to record audio with something that's not going to sound like a laptop or a headset mic. And it's like, you know what? A USB mic is a nice, inexpensive, relatively, kind of intermediate solution. That bridge to take you to the point where you're making enough money that you can actually afford like a 2-piece setup.
Well, also, like when the mics like the NT1 5th gen exist, it's USB, it's 32-bit float, it's, you know, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I would go, well, see, but the thing is, it depends on what, because if I was doing podcast audio, podcasts are almost always dynamic mics. Dynamic mic is kind of the industry standard for podcasts these days. We had a huge meeting about this on Monday, and our lead sound design at our biggest podcast umbrella was basically talking about, if you're doing any kind of spots for, like, don't record on a condenser. No. It's not going to mix well. It's just not going to mix well with what we have as content.
Then there's Minds of Madness. He uses a U87AI. I mean, it's all relative, but...
Well, and those are, you know, I think a lot of the podcasts that we're doing are generally like more conversational podcasts. That's like a story, true crimey type thing. So,
yeah.
I mean... And also the way you treat it is different, right? I mean, I don't tend to boost XLR's top end. I boost almost every mic in the high end to some degree.
He actually doesn't EQ his audio. He adds zero EQ to it.
But he feeds it into Descript.
Yeah, but it doesn't. He's got no EQ on it. He runs it through a couple. I can't actually talk about it. That's his thing. I haven't gotten any processes from him about how he treats it, but and I wouldn't want to like. There's always stuff that's verging on trade secrets when it comes to some podcasters. So I'd rather not mess around with that. That's not fair to him.
Oh, I hate that shit. I could reverse engineer his signal chain so easily.
Well, yes, but then it's also like I mean, he's also a friend. So
yeah, well, there's that too. But like, I even say this, like, nothing that I do as a producer is a secret.
No.
You know, if somebody hears something that I did musically, if they hear something that I did in a spot or a long form podcast or something, I'll tell them, because my value is not in all these things that I know how to do. My value is in how my ears tell me to make something sound, like basically what my ears say sounds good. I can't teach somebody that. That is what my ears say. That is my personal judgment.
Yep.
And so I can show you all the tools that I use to make something sound good, but it's really hard for me to be able to teach you how I use it to make it sound good.
Yeah.
Or what exactly, you know, when I listen to a raw voice, like, you can watch me do it, but as far as, are you going to see my mental process? Probably not.
It's interesting though.
Like, oh man, I'm a producer. I got this old Lexicon reverb from the 80s. It's like, okay, so I'll just buy that and replace you. If that's all the places that your value is in the stuff that you have, it's like, I'll just get the same stuff as you, and then I don't need it.
It's more the competitive spirit of that level of podcasts. And I mean, I only respect it because, one, I work with him. Two, he's a friend.
No, and I'm not saying you shouldn't respect it. Obviously, that's the wishes. That's, you know, that you have a relationship and there's a mutual respect there. You know, as there should be. But I when people do that, it leaves a weird taste in my mouth. I get it, but like, if I ever did that, like, just kind of held on to these tools, like, I'm not going to tell you what EQ I use because that's it's like, really?
Oh, it's interesting. So, Steve says we're freezing up. Right.
Yeah, you just glitched out a little bit for me. Just
really?
A little flutter, nothing crazy.
All right. Well, okay. Well, that's about it anyways. It's been an hour. Sneed says finding a good flow setup and being consistent, important for quality assurance, right? And you need a gateway into the gear. Absolutely. All right, guys, that's it for us. We're going to get out of here. If you have questions and you want them answered, it doesn't matter how stupid or insulting, I may make fun of you, just so you know. Leave them down below.
I think we both might make fun of you.
What's that?
I said we both might make fun of you.
Yes, we both might.
But it's all in good fun. There's no shame here. There's no dumb questions. There's no, there's definitely, if you're on the wrong track, we'll set you straight. But generally, yeah, all questions are welcome.
See, and I will echo this because there's been a few people that have given me shit in the comments because they're saying I'm being rude to people. And I do actually have a bit of edge in certain comments. You are allowed to disagree with me. I will never be rude to you if you disagree with me. If you disagree with me in a rude manner, I will 100% swing my weight in the comments.
I roast you.
And there have been people like I forget what it was, but the guy he basically told me I was an idiot because I didn't like the Q9U, if I recall. And I basically said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's a horrible mic. If he had just said, I like the Q9U, I think you're wrong, I would have been like, that's cool, man. Buy what you like. And that actually happened this week. Somebody actually said that about that very mic. I don't care if you buy it, but if you're going to be a dick, I'll be a dick back. So, just so you know, I won't be rude to you if you're nice to me. Okay? Promise. Anyways, maybe the internet to Europe again. Yeah, sorry about that. Internet Europe sucks. I was there this summer and it was pretty bad in a lot of places. Anyways, have yourself a great week and we will see you next week on Friday. Have a great weekend, guys.
Later.